joy you will find. Following God's commands, your faith aligned. Stand on the rock and you'll be strong. Trust in Him, He'll carry you along. In the darkest hour, joy will bloom. If you obey Him, He'll dispel the gloom. Trust in Him, stand firm and true. His strength will always see you through. No matter how dark, joy will prevail. With God's guidance, He'll never fail. Obey His word and you'll find your way. In His light, there's always a brighter day. In the darkest hour, joy will bloom. If you obey Him, He'll dispel the gloom. Trust in Him, stand firm and true. His strength will always see you through. No matter how dark, joy will prevail. With God's guidance, He'll never fail. Obey His word and you'll find your way. In His light, there's always a brighter day. For His love is steadfast, His promise sure. In His embrace, you'll always endure. Through trials and storms, you'll never stray. With faith in your heart, He'll lead the way. In the darkest hour, joy will bloom. If you obey Him, He'll dispel the gloom. Trust in Him, stand firm and true. His strength will always see you through. Even in shadows, His light will shine. With trust and obedience, your soul will align. In the darkest hour, you'll always see. For with God, your heart is forever free.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. My name is Jason.
I'm Caden.
I'm Jaden.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Eli.
And we are the Yahuwah and the Torah YouTube channel, and we thank you guys very, very much. To anybody that is out there listening into this, we are the little itty bitty tiny family that is hanging out in the middle of these crazy jungles as we praise our Elohim on this Sabbath day. That is correct. It is an appointed time by our Creator that we keep His laws, statutes, and commandments, that we keep His way forward. And today is that day that we keep this beautiful appointed time to where we don't rest, where we do rest, where we don't work, where we don't do the stuff that the normal rest of the world does. We align ourselves and our world into the hands, into the ways of our Creator. And it is a beautiful way. And as we say good morning and maybe good afternoon to all of you guys, I just want to give you guys a big shout out, a big hug from all of us down here. And Jade, will you please, actually Kate, open us up in prayer.
Shabbat, thank you for this day. We thank you for your Shabbat. Thank you for the day you have called, anointed, the day you called Kodesh. We ask that keep it sanctified, that we're able to read your word today and we're able to speak what you have upon our hearts to say, that your Ruach is on us to understand the words that are coming out of this Torah, the words that are coming out of the Gospels of your Son. And we ask that today is blessed, is Kodesh, and that you remember us in the time of trial. Remember the people who obey your commands. Remember the people who are striving for righteousness. And we thank you for all in His name. Amen.
Okay, so how we are doing here, Jade, will you open us up this morning with our Shema?
Hear, O Yisrael, Yahuwah our Elohim, Yahuwah is one. You shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, and with all your being, and with all your might. And these words I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be front between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates.
And these are amazing words. We've discussed this quite a bit, and I use this verse quite a bit. I talked to another brother this morning, and last week it was pretty amazing because we got 15 new leads, and we are the sales associates for the kingdom. And so whenever it is possible that we have leads that come into the kingdom, we are the ones who are very astute upon getting these brothers and sisters in chains a list of commands. And The 15 that I got last week, I had a couple of great responses that were coming in from the dungeons of the United States. And one of the brothers is, it's very interesting because we get to go on these fishing expeditions out there. And one of the brothers writes back and he goes, what we sent him is the commands that we're just about to read. And he wrote back, it was about 3 sentences, something about the effect that he was very much interested in learning these commands and wanted to know how to begin. Is it simply by memorizing these commands to begin? And I thought that was a very good answer or a very good question from him. And the answer for all of us falls into this, that yes, number one is we should have these commands memorized. We might not know the exact order of the commands, but we need to understand them enough to where somebody would offer you up like a medium rare steak, the thing is bleeding all over your plate, and you would look at it and go, I can't eat that because, we have a commandment that says not to drink blood. And so you'd want your stuff like that well done. And so when you learn the Torah commands and when you write them on your heart, mind, and soul, then that is the way that we can efficiently lead our families. And it is amazing to get to these brothers and sisters in chains that are very new when it comes to the commandments, and as they are basically trying to fight for their own freedom and get out of the situation they are in, they are also fighting for the freedoms of their families. And it is amazing to be able to grab a hold of these guys and to be able to work with them for years to the point where they actually get out. And we have people that are on the outs that contact us. We know people inside and outside now because of this ministry. And it is absolutely amazing fishing ground. And so, guys, if you guys are ever looking for a something to do, if you guys want to do pen pals or be a part of this Yah Scriptures Prison Ministry, there's always an open door for all of you guys out there. All right, Mr. Cole, will you say hi to all our brothers and sisters out there?
All right, we have the Judge, William and Sarah, Razul, Heidi, Jeremy and Callan, and I hope I don't slaughter this, but I think it's Ashish from India, new name, Curtis, Merca, Silver Patriot, Honeymoon Stitch with Brian, Richie James, Jeannie Not of This World, Nellie, Sylvia, and the Graham's here. I think that's everybody. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry.
Yep, and for those who are gathering in the future, much love to all of you guys. Thank you very, very much for being a part of this. Now, what we're going to do right now is we are going to very slowly and meticulously, we're going to go through these laws, statutes, and commandments that we have been given as a gift, as really a favor, as really something that is such a beautiful endeavor that most of the people out there in religious world will never ever find this amazing stuff. And again, I talk a lot about my brothers in chains, but it's something that is a lot of my time is spent on that. And I take everybody to Matthew 7, and there's 2 spots in Matthew 7 that are very, very imperative. One is the story in Matthew 7 about that little tiny gate that people can make the way through, and a lot of people make it through the gate. But then there's the wide path to destruction. And that wide path to destruction seems like everybody falls off into that. And the fascinating verse is that it clearly says that most people don't make the kingdom. And so that should be something that we all take note of. We should have eyebrows. It should be something that we should wonder about, because according to religion that we have been provided with, everybody's saved. Right? It doesn't matter which religion you join. Everybody has the ultimatum and exact guide on how you get saved. Say, for instance, the Catholics. The Catholics will take you in, and their road to salvation is penance. As long as you are telling the little man in the box that your sins, and to have your sins forgiven, then that is a way to have your sins forgiven. That's their salvation in the Catholic Church. Now, that does not actually exist inside of Scriptures. There's no place that we're told to go into a little box with some fella and tell him our sins, and there's no way a man is going to be able to forgive us our sins. Now, you have the other religion. You have the Christian religion, of all sects of Christian religion, and they are the same thing. You raise your hand at 8 years old. The Mormons will have you raise their hand at 8 years old, and they will have you saved. And everybody has this road to salvation, but yet not a single person ever puts any value on the first 5 books of Scriptures. And so it is very, very amazing that we have been given these. And not only have we been given them, but we've been given 120 years to figure this whole path out. And so when the majority of the world doesn't make the kingdom simply based upon the words of our Messiah in Matthew 7, why not? Because they are Torah-less. So how do we become not Torah-less? How do we become full of the Torah? Well, you're on it right here. What we're about to do is we're about to go over these laws, statutes, and commandments that should become muscle memory as we go over them. We go over these same things every Shabbat. You guys can catch us at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on any Shabbat, and we're going to be going over these most beautiful things right here. And as we go over them, if you guys are simply saying them and reciting them to yourself, then you are going to go out and you will have these written on your heart, mind, and soul because we have gone over them ad nauseum. So with that, let us begin this beautiful list of commandments. Number 1 is be fruitful.
Number 2, multiply.
Replenish the earth.
Subdue it. Have dominion over the fish, fowl, and every living creature.
They are bearing, and every tree is for food.
Man and woman should build their own families.
Master sin.
Everything moving thing that lives shall be food for you.
Slow down, fellas.
Do not eat the blood.
Walk before me and be perfect.
Guard Yahuwah's covenant, laws, statutes, and commandments.
Every male shall be circumcised at 8 days old.
Teach your children the commands and guard the way of Yahuwah.
Remember Yahuwah's name for all generations.
Keep the Passover, Pesach.
Keep the feast of unleavened bread, festival of Matzah.
There is one Torah for the stranger and one for the Hebrew.
Sanctify all firstborn to Yahuwah.
There are no mighty ones before Yahuwah.
You shall not make graven images.
Do not bring Yahuwah's name to naught.
Keep the Shabbat.
Honor your parents.
Do not kill.
Do not break wedlock.
Do not steal.
Do not make false accusations against your neighbor.
Do not covet anything of your neighbor's.
Do not make an altar from rock that a tool is touched.
Do not go up the altar by the steps.
If a man steals cattle, he shall restore it 5 times.
Yahuwah's laws for criminals.
Do not lie with beast.
No sacrifices to other Elohim.
Okay, let's go back to the do not lie with a beast. Now, the only reason I'm going to even bring this up is because all of the Christians will have you believing that there's no laws, statutes, and commandments, right? They will tell you with a straight face that the laws have been nailed to the cross. They no longer apply to you. At which point, we know there's a commandment that says do not lie with beast. At which point, our eyes should get really big and we should be looking over at these people and wondering what is up with these people, right? If there's no such set of laws, statutes, and commandments, then by default, it doesn't matter that there's a commandment, do not lie with a beast. You see, when you start taking the commandments and you're like, this one doesn't apply to me, I don't want to do this one, I don't want to do this one, you get into a very, very dangerous territory because the world without a commandment of lying with beasts looks a very, very vile. It looks like a very bad place to be. And when people are attacking the laws of our Creator and they don't want them in their lives, by default, these are the people that would be okay lying with a beast because that law has been nailed to the cross. Continuing on, no sacrifices to other Elohim.
Do not oppress the stranger, fatherless, or widow.
Do not charge your brother interest.
You borrow your neighbor's raiment. Return to him before sunset.
Do not curse the ruler of your people.
Do not eat what is torn of any beast.
No false report.
I think you missed. Did you get that one?
Actually, I think you got it.
Yeah, okay. Do not follow the multitude of evil.
Do not judge unrighteously against the poor.
Bring back your enemy's cattle if you find it going astray.
Help the animals of your enemy.
Stay away from rumors and gossipers.
And imagine a world right here, guys. Again, stay away from rumors and gossipers. No laws, right? A Torah-less world, right? A set of people that have no moral laws given to them by the creator of the universe. But then they will argue, oh, but we have the 10 commandments. But then you have the 4th commandment, which is keep the Shabbat. But they don't keep that because Jesus died and because he came back to life on a Sunday. That's the new Lord's Day. That's what we're going to make it. This is the Lord's Day. We're going to change the day of Shabbat, and we're going to go our own way, just like Hasatan, our daddy, wants us to go, which is not the right way, obviously. Take no bribes.
Do not oppress a stranger. Love the stranger.
Give your land rest in the 7th year.
Do not mention any pagan names.
Keep the feast of Yahuwah.
Do not cook your goat in his mother's milk.
Obey the messenger Yahuwah sends before you.
Do not bow down to other Elohim.
Serve Yahuwah.
Make no covenant with outsiders of the land.
Do not make use of anointing oil on a normal person. uses perfume on a normal person.
Do not eat the fat.
Do what you say you're going to do.
Return what is your neighbor's.
Obey Yahuwah's dietary laws.
Ooh, women's time separation.
Obey Yahuwah's hygiene laws.
Keep the Day of Atonement, Yom HaKippurim.
Do not uncover the nakedness of your family.
Do not take your woman's sister's wife.
Do not lie with a woman in her uncleanness.
You shall not sacrifice your children to Moloch.
Hold on. Here we are. If we want to be these people that have taken all laws and nailed them to the cross, all of a sudden we have great instructions that tell us we should not sacrifice our children to a false deity. So, again, this is why religion in general is extremely dangerous. You're dealing with people that do not value the ways of our Creator, and when people don't value the ways of our Creator, when people have no fear of Elohim, when they do not fear the wrath of our Creator because they have done something wrong, then these people are able to do anything, which is why you should never get into business with somebody unyoked. Like, say, for instance, you get into a business with a Christian. You might have the law, statutes, and commandments of our Creator. You might know what they are. But by default, the so-called Christians, they will smiling, happily tell you the laws have been absolved. You don't have to go under any kind of commandments. And so that makes people very, very dangerous. People can do very great evil things to you, and all they have to do is ask Jesus to forgive them, right? They can completely do horrible things, and at the expense of their own soul, they are thinking that it doesn't really matter because they live under a lawless world. They don't have commands. They don't have the good ruling. They don't have the knowledge. And it's things that you can't get rid of one commandment. You can't get rid of two. You can't get rid of anything. In fact, you would be a fool to even try to get rid of one of them. But if you want to look at the list of fools, there's like hundreds of thousands of different religions that all believe the exact same thing. You got something?
Yeah.
What you got?
Yehoshua HaMashiach is my savior says, wait, no oil on a person? I don't think you need to explain that just a little bit.
What is this? This was
Do not
a
use it as make-
yeah. This was a okay. So back to that command. This was the actual command is it is in I think it was Leviticus they were doing this, but anyway, what they had is they have a recipe in this for a specific Levitical command that it literally gives you the recipe, and the recipe is that and it is meant for temple work, but
For
because
anointing.
what is it
For anointing.
for anointing, right? It's anointing. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
We're talking about which command are we talking about here?
The perfume, do not make use of perfume.
Yeah, this is the same stuff. Yeah, so basically, the ingredients of this recipe, you're not to make this exact same recipe up and put that stuff on there. So it's not like it's not saying like oil on a normal person or anything of the sort. It's talking about this certain concoction of a recipe of a perfumed oil that they have, and for whatever reason, our Creator does not want that used outside of His temple ceremonies. Okay, hope that explains that. Okay, next, do not be a sodomite.
Be holy.
Do not reap the corners of your field, or you shall not glean your vineyard.
Do not deal falsely or defraud your neighbor.
Do not lie or be a liar.
Pay your workers the day's wage they are due.
Do not harm the disabled.
Again, look at this command, guys. Do not harm the disabled. Shall we nail this one to the cross? Think about this. Think about the danger we put ourselves into, our disabled people into, the old people. The next commandment down is do not endanger your neighbor. When you do not have a set of good instructions, then you are a dangerous set of people. You might have the greatest heart in the world. You might be the nicest guy in the world. But when push comes to shove, and your moral compass is on the line versus how you work life, and you don't have a moral compass because you do not have the Torah, you're a dangerous person. Which is why we all need the Torah, which is why we all need to bathe in the Torah, which is why we need to have our lives completely embraced. Which it's why that Deuteronomy 6 says that we need to have the Torah as frontlets between our eyes, as on our doorposts and on our gates, and it's something that it's a living, breathing entity that is the word of our Creator that has been given to us, and it is an amazing thing. And I was doing a reading the other day, and I told everybody that I said, living the Torah life is a breath of fresh air. And somebody commented that they literally, this is the first time they'd ever seen one of these videos, and they're like, you're right. The Torah, I've never seen it like this. This is absolutely a breath of fresh air. And when you live your entire life with all these pagans and all these Gentiles are like, oh, the laws are gone. It doesn't really matter. Eat what you want, live like you want, do what you want, pay your 10%, and you're in the club, kids, right? There's a better way, and there's a better set of instructions. Okay, continuing on, everybody.
Okay, I think we're do not endanger your neighbor.
Do not hate your brother.
Rebuke your neighbor for his sin.
Love your neighbor as yourself.
Do not diverse your cattle.
Do not mingle your seed.
Do not mingle linen and wool.
Do not lie with a taken woman.
Do not eat the fruit of the trees for 3 years.
Do not practice sorcery.
Do not round your beard or the corners of your head.
Do not cut yourself for the dead.
Do not get tattoos.
Do not prostitute your daughter.
So let's go back. It was, do not cut yourself for the dead, right? It's a simple commandment, right? Imagine this command wasn't there. You had all of these Israelites that were coming out of Egypt. They had spent 400 years there. They had like several generations. Every single one of the Egyptians would go out there and literally when somebody dies, right, they just start slicing themselves up, right? They're bleeding everywhere. It looks like a seance. And so here we are with a commandment that says, do not cut ourselves for the dead. But then you have that other aisle, that other side, that all commands are dead, right? All commands have been nailed to the cross. Food's been made cling, la-di-la-di-la-di, all this kind of trash. So which do you want it? Do you want to be able to cut yourself for the dead and get tattoos and prostitute your daughter? Or do you want to follow in the laws, statutes, and commandments of our Creator and take all of those things which I just said as an abomination to the eyes of our Creator? Continuing on. Do not get tattoos.
Do not prostitute your daughter.
Do not defile your temple.
Do not consult the medium.
Respect your elders.
Have correct weights and measures.
Do not walk in the manners of the nation.
Huge thing. A lot of people have a really, really hard time not walking in the manners of the nation, right? We just came out of football season, right? We just came out of the Super Bowl where everybody was all dressed up as their idols and everybody's all doing their crazy stuff that they're doing, right? All walking in the manners of the nations, right? Not a single thing ever comes out of the NFL. In fact, the NFL is a complete Freemason sideshow, satanic organization that is completely corrupt. And these are the things that you start watching this stuff and the programming begins. The people of our Creator are not TV watchers. We are not the people that will sit there and have to sit down and be entertained with this homosexuality comedy garbage crap that you will find everywhere on all these TVs. We are not the people that will pop our kids up in front of a TV and let them be babysat as they're watching stuff that is programming them and is going to make them rebel teenagers, right? These are all the things that we don't do. We do not walk in the manners of the nation. Everything that you see around us is the manners of the nation. The way that we don't walk in the manners of the nation is we read Torah, we walk in the Torah, we have a Torah-based life, and when there's things that come along, such as walking in the manners of the nation, we walk away from that. We don't walk, we walk away from the manners of the nations. Continuing on, keep the Feast of First Fruit, Shavuot, Omer Count, or Pentecost.
Keep the Feast of Trumpets, Yom Torah.
Keep the Feast of Sukkot, Shemini Atzeret.
If you blaspheme the name of Yahuwah, you shall be put to death.
If you kill your animal, you must give him another.
Repay injury for injury.
Out of the Yobel, Jubilee year.
Confess your sins to Yahuwah and repay who you have trespassed against.
The law of being a Nazir.
Or zeed thee on the four corners of your garments.
The law is of whoever touches a corpse.
Follow Yahuwah's law of inheritance.
Torah, keep your oath to Yahuwah.
Do not add or take away from the word.
Very important one.
Guard your soul.
Another big important one.
Learn to fear Yahuwah.
Very important.
You shall love Yahuwah with all your heart.
Just keeps getting more important.
Bind the laws upon your hand and the frontlets between your eyes.
Write the laws on your doorposts.
Do not tempt Yahuwah.
Do what is right and good in the sight of Yahuwah.
Do not be afraid of your enemies.
Remember Yahuwah.
Circumcise your heart.
Cleave to Yahuwah.
Swear by his name.
Destroy graven images.
Do not make an idol of Yahuwah as the pagans do to their Elohim.
Rejoice in all Yahuwah has blessed you with.
Do not do what is right in your own eyes.
Hearken. Oh, do not hearken to the words of the false prophets.
Do not make any baldness between your eyes for the dead.
You shall not eat any abominable thing.
You shall give to a stranger clean food that died of itself, but you shall not eat of it.
Give tithe of your increase of seed year by year.
Laws of the end of the 7-year lease.
Do not borrow from the nations.
Do not harden your heart nor shut your hand from the poor.
Guard month 1 of Yahuwah's calendar.
3 times a year all males shall appear before Yahuwah.
You shall make judges and officers in all your gates.
Do not plant Asherah poles near the altar.
There must be 2 or 3 witnesses.
Hearken unto the Nabai Yahuwah has chosen.
Private test of Deuteronomy.
Do not remove your neighbor's property line.
How to deal with false witness among Torah keepers.
The first child is the adult portions.
Your brother's cattle or clothes are lost, and you find them. You must return them.
A woman should not wear what pertains to a man, nor a man wear what pertains to a woman.
If you find a bird's nest of the mother and the babies or eggs, take the babies, but not the mother.
If you build a new house with flowers which alien lives on, you must put everything around it.
Do not be a prostitute.
Do not use dirty money.
The law of divorce.
Do not take a person's millstone for a pledge.
If you lend to your brother, do not enter his house to get your payment. He must bring it to you. Return his clothing before sunset, if that was his pledge.
Do not oppress a hired servant that is poor and needy.
Every man shall be put to death for his own sin.
Do not go back to the forgotten sheep in the field, for the stranger, fatherless, and widow.
Do not muzzle your ox when he treads out grain.
If your brother dies and has no child, you shall take his wife and name the firstborn after your brother.
At the end of 7 years, you are to read the Torah that feeds to go, Feast of Tabernacles.
Okay, so Richie James says, this will be my first Pesach. I'll be obeying. Is it just unleavened bread we are to eat by itself, or? Okay, so guys, let's talk about Passover real quick. So we have our Passover day. What does that look like, everybody? Anyone?
Well, we cook the lamb, right?
We have a lamb, and we eat in haste. And how does that look? So prior to Passover, we get everything with leaven out of our house, right? So there's nothing with leaven anywhere. We usually stick it out in a car somewhere out in the field somewhere. That is how we begin with that. Okay, then what do we do from there? What do meals look like, Miss Nicole?
We eat just normal foods that don't have leaven in them, but we also incorporate unleavened bread with our meals.
Okay, so there's unleavened bread. Lots of unleavened bread, but you eat it's just regular stuff. It's not like you just eat one single thing of other stuff, but it's a ceremony to begin with. It's a day of remembrance to begin with. It's an understanding. There's a couple things with Passover. The thing about Passover is it's not just a thing to remember back in the day. It's also a thing to remember our Messiah, because our Messiah came and fulfilled all of these appointed times. He became that same lamb slaughtering that was over Passover. He became that lamb for us. He also became the Melchizedek priest. He also became that same priest that was supposed to be doing all of this work. So there's a tremendous amount of joy, a tremendous amount of remembrance and understanding and appreciation that we have, and where we've been given these appointed times. And these appointed times are things that we're going to be doing in the kingdom to come. This is why anybody who says that we shouldn't be doing appointed times is absolutely a false teacher, is just a Satanist, a straight up Satanist. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of guys. There's a sleepy time guy on YouTube that goes around and tells everybody that they should not be keeping appointed times because we're not in the land and blah 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 blah. They don't get it. They don't get that all of these appointed times it's a ceremony for the world that we are going to be doing, so that if we make it to the kingdom and they start keeping Passover, that we're not foreigners to the whole thing. We're like, oh, it's Passover, yay! We have 7 days. We're about to get crunk. So that's the thing. This is all a ceremony of crazy stuff that's going to be in the future, and it's about obedience and about willing to be those people that are literally taking that time off, taking off the high Shabbat that comes with Passover, treating the Passover with respect, and doing the very best that we can as Yah's people to attempt to get the appointed times. And again, there's probably all of us that are out here, probably all of us are on different calendars. I don't know about you guys. We currently are keeping the Zadiki calendar. And I'm not, there's no reason to throw swords and axes into people keeping different calendars. The fact and the matter that we are being obedient and attempting to do it with our understanding of what we understand now. When we have a Messiah, we're going to get this all figured out. Messiah Yahushua is going to come, but he's not going to come to a whole bunch of people that are just eating pig and are sitting there waiting on a fake rapture as they have no laws. He's going to come and he's going to put it down for those of us who are seeking the ways of his dad, that are seeking the ways of the kingdom, and he's going to give us the straight truth of exactly what it is. So very important times. All right, hopefully that, Bathrobe Bob, Jeremy says, I don't even remember what that guy's name was. It was like Sleepy Time with Robert or Bob or something. This guy is a horrible guy. And in fact, we exposed him a long time ago, and then we had a bunch of his little fruity flies that were coming around, and everybody's like, oh, we don't want you to keep these laws. I'm like, okay, go be raging pagans. Have a good day. Goodbye, everyone. Okay, here we are, into the book of Numbers. Who's giving me the breakdown?
It's me.
Fingers pointing to everybody here, but nobody's speaking. All right, there we go. Hit it.
So we are in the book of Numbers, which is pretty self-explanatory. We're literally numbering everybody and everything at this point. We have made it out of Egypt. We are made it through laws. We've built the temple. We've learned what the Levites should do, and now we are numbering every single tribe. We numbered the warriors, how many people are going out to war from certain ages. From every tribe except the Levites, and the Levites are the priests, and they have to do the priestly duties. They're not allowed to go to war. They get no inheritance. We also got a bunch of gifts to the Levites, and every tribe gave the same amount of rams, lambs, silver bowl with wheat, and then everybody got the same thing.
Yep.
And then last week we numbered the Levites, and we learned how they should basically what they have to do. They have 25 years of service, and that's it. Before 25, they can't work, and after 50, they can't work. So if they're between 25 and 50, they are supposed to do work in the temple.
Yeah.
And so we numbered a whole bunch of them, and we learned a lot more about Levites last week.
Yeah, and it's one of these things that our Creator always sets up the talks that we have, right? Richie just talks about the Passover, and this particular chapter, we're about to get down. We're about to get jiggy with this whole thing. Okay, so here it is, guys. Rules and regulations that we have for Passover. Well, let's discuss this as we roll through this. If anyone has 9:1, and Yahuwah Sinai in the first month of the second year after they had come out of the land of Mitzrayim, saying, "Now let the children of Israel perform the Pesach at its appointed time. On the 14th day of this month, between the evenings, perform it at its appointed time, according to and right rulings, you perform it." And Moshe spoke to the children of Israel to perform the Pesach. So they performed the Pesach on the 14th day of the first month between the evenings in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that Yahuwah commanded Moshe. So the children of Israel did. Okay, so let's talk about this. What are we performing in the middle of the evenings? You got something going on?
I don't know. Caleb's like.
I might have like scorpions all around us, guys, or something. That's just the way it is. So.
Caleb's like watching something on the floor. I don't know what it is.
All right, guys, let's get back to this real quick. What is between the evenings? What are we doing between the evenings?
Basically, this is what we do. We kill our lamb, and we basically prepare our Passover. It basically starts at night, and between the night and before the morning, we have to have this basically done.
Yep, and so there were rules and regulations. Not every house had the exact same size of lamb. Like if you were a small house, you would have a piece of it. You would share it with the neighbors around you. Okay, let's continue on. 4. And
Hold on, Rick has a question.
all right,
Rick says, was 25 to 30 years old an apprenticeship period?
it was from last week, wasn't it? 25 to 50, wasn't it?
50, yeah. So basically before 25, you're learning what to do. Then after 50, you're kind of like the mentor teaching the new generation.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, if we're talking about last week's where it was talking about the Levites, and what it said last week was that basically you could serve from the age of 25 to 50. And I think I cracked a joke that you may be a little more immature at 24, and you're a geezer past 50 or something of the sort, and you wouldn't want to get involved. And that's just a joke. That's the thing. And so it's not, and I think an apprenticeship, I think these guys, I think if you were a Levite prior to being 25 years old, I think you would have understood very, very clearly what your rules, what you were going to be doing in the temple. Like, I don't think you jumped into this at 25 as a brand new student. I think your apprenticeship probably would have been, if you were in that Levite family going into this, you probably would have been trained ever since you were birthed on your thing. So I don't know if I have an answer for that, but I would guess the apprenticeship was all prior to this, but you didn't actually work in it or anything of the sort. That's just a guess. 4. And Moshe spoke to the children of Israel to perform the Pesach. So they performed the Pesach on the 14th day of the month between the evenings in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that Yahuwah commanded Moshe. So the children of Israel did. But there were men who were defiled for a being of a man, so that they were not able to perform the Pesach on that day. So they came before Moshe and Aaron that day. And those men said to him, "We are defiled for the being of a man. Why are we withheld from bringing near the offering of Yahuwah at its appointed time among the children of Yisrael?" Very important thing. These are one of these things that this is a history moment, right? This is a moment in history where there was nothing prior to this on how to deal with people. And so, guys, explain to me how a man would become defiled.
Basically touching a dead body, some kind of like
Sores
blood or something. Yeah,
sores on
busting
you.
out. You're unclean by disease.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that we would have been unclean. And so we do not go to our Creator unclean. And this is what these guys were doing. But they're like, hey, we don't want to get kicked out. This is an exciting time. And for those of you out there who don't understand, the appointed times are an exciting time. This is what separates us from the rest of the world, as we are keeping the appointed times of our Creator, and the rest of the people are just doing whatever it is they're going to do. This is the sign of obedience, that we are willing not just to obey our Creator, but to obey Him in every way that He says that we should be obeying Him. And so all these guys were somehow had been carrying around a corpse, or somehow had been carrying around something. They were unclean. They were unable to keep the Passover, and they wanted to. That's the big thing. 8, and Moshe said to them, wait, let me hear what Yahuwah commands concerning you. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Yisrael, saying, when any male of you of your generations is unclean for a being, or is far away on a journey, he shall still perform the Pesach of Yahuwah. On the 14th day of the second month between the evenings, they perform it. With unleavened bread and bitter herbs, they eat it. Okay, so if we can't make the Passover on the very first month when we're supposed to be there, next month, on the 14th day of the second month between the evenings, it's the same kind of a gig, right? We have unleavened bread, you have the bitter herbs, you have the same kind of thing. So even if you were unclean to perform the Passover on the very first month, second month, we have some action and we're able to do it. 12, they do not leave of it until morning, and they do not break a bone of it according to all the laws of the Pesach. They perform it. Now this is kind of a hard one here, right? This is one of these things that unless you're slaughtering your own lamb, they break the bones of it. They may not just snap the bones, but they're sawing all of this. If you get a leg of lamb, you're already going to get a leg of lamb that had technically, it's not quite qualified for this, right? The only way that you would be able to do this is if you follow this commandment exactly correct. And I'm not one of those guys that says because you can't not get a bone that's broken that you shouldn't be able to do this. I think you should do it to the very best of our abilities so that we understand the procedure, we understand what it's all about, and that we're getting in line with this, guys. This is something that's going to happen every single year in the kingdom to come. It's not going to be something that is weird to us like some of us it is right now, where we just don't understand it, and it becomes less weird and less odd as we go through it. I will tell you, like, I don't know, what was it, 7 or 8 years ago when we did our first Passover, and we got some sandals on, and we got a staff, and we did what the commandment said and performed it as it said. It was a little weird. I felt like we were in a theater. I felt like we were dressing up for some reason, but it gets a little bit easier, right? And now it's just kind of like the thing that it is. Okay, continuing on. 13. But the man who is clean and is not on a journey and has failed to perform the Pesach, that same being shall be cut off from among his people, because he did not bring the offering of Yahuwah at its appointed time. That man bears his sin. So right here is precedence that none of us should avoid this day, that we should all be a part of it, that we should not be cut off, right? I don't know if there's any one of us that are like, will be cheering on being cut off from among our people, right? That's not what we want. We want to be a part of the kingdom people. We want to get rid of this nasty world that we are in right now. And we want to equip ourselves with people that love our Creator, that love our neighbor, that love His Torah, that love His commands, that love everything about Him. And that's going to bring one heck of a family together. So we don't want to get cut off, right? So, you know, the Bathrobe Bob and his little group of raging Gentiles, where he's like, oh, whatever you do, don't keep the Passover because you're not in the land. It doesn't say anything like this, right? It either gives us if you're clean or if you're not clean. We need to keep the Passover every single year. We need to keep the appointed times every single year. And we need to get better and better and better at it so it becomes less and less foreign to us, so that we're not being in a foreign land if we do make the kingdom. Continuing on, 14 says this. And when a stranger sojourns among you, then he shall perform the Pesach of Yahuwah. He shall do according to the law of the Pesach and according to its right ruling. You have one law, both for the stranger and for the native of the land. Okay, so here's something real big, right? When you have a stranger sojourns among you. Now, who is a stranger, fellas?
Basically, someone who's not born inside Israel.
Somebody, and also somebody who is not keeping, right? A stranger could be anybody. When we came out of Egypt, there was a mixed multitude of a ton of strangers. There was like 600,000 to 1 million people of every color of skin and race that came. They were the smart Egyptians. The people that decided they had seen enough with all of the deeds that our Creator had done to Egypt, and they decided that it was probably not in their best interest to hang out. So they ended up with a stranger. And so how does a stranger get themselves into the hand of Israel? It is the same thing that all of us, that we come out of being our Gentile ways, there's one Torah for us. It doesn't matter where we came from. It doesn't matter what religion that we're stuck in, that we ended up with man's traditions of men. It matters that when we come into Torah, there's only one set of guidelines for us. We don't have anything else. We don't keep Sunday worship. We don't keep Easter. We don't keep Christmas. We don't keep Thanksgiving. We don't keep any of this stuff. That's all stuff that is strange to us now. Now that we are no longer strangers of the ways of our Creator, those are all things that we don't do. Continuing on, our Creator says this, and on the day that the Mishkan was raised up, the cloud covered the Mishkan, the tent of the witness, from evening until morning, it was above the Mishkan like the appearance of fire. Thus it was continually, the cloud covered it by day and the appearance of fire by night. And whenever the cloud was taken up from above the tent, after that the children of Israel would depart. And in the place where the cloud dwelt, there the children of Israel would camp. At the command of Yahuwah, the children of Israel departed. And at the command of Yahuwah, they camped. They remained camped as long as the cloud dwelt above the Mishkan. Even when the cloud lingered many days above the Mishkan, the children of Israel guarded the charge of Yahuwah and did not depart. And so it was, when the cloud was above the Mishkan a few days, according to the command of Yahuwah, they camped, and according to the command of Yahuwah, they would depart. And so it was, when the cloud dwelt only from evening until morning, when the cloud was taken up in the morning, they departed. Whether by day or by night, whenever the cloud was taken up, they departed. Whether 2 days or a month or a year that the cloud lingered above the Mishkan to dwell upon it, the children of Israel camped and they did not depart. But when it was taken up, they departed. At the command of Yahuwah they camped, and at the command of Yahuwah they departed. They guarded the charge of Yahuwah at the command by the hand of Moshe. Okay, so there we go right there. Eli takes us to the next thing. Let's see, I'm reading comments here.
Rick has a question.
What's Rick have?
How about the mixed multitude who were uncircumcised and only circumcised can partake of Pesach?
Well, that's the thing, is that is a Torah command, right? And so you would need to make sure that you were fully in covenant with this. And part of the Passover is that you absolutely need to be circumcised. So going into the stranger who's among you, if the stranger wasn't falling into covenant, like they weren't becoming a part of Yisrael, and circumcision is simply one part of it. But there's other places in Torah that it does talk about the Passover, and you absolutely must be circumcised. So you can't thwart one command for another. But in the event that you have those who are foreigners that are in covenant, becoming covenant, then that's how you do this. So, and that's the thing, right? Everybody coming out of, and the thing was, I don't think anybody coming out of Egypt was circumcised, right? Because they didn't circumcise everybody till later.
Yeah, I think
It was none of these guys were keeping Passover originally.
At this point, they had lost all tradition of anything.
Yeah, so none of them. It was when did they get circumcised, guys? It was
I think it was in Exodus.
Yeah, and
Later,
so
way later.
there was a time when, I mean, because originally they weren't even able to keep it according to the actual commands until they got the whole commands on circumcision and got the rest and got into covenant. But 400 years in Egypt, you can imagine them coming out. It was just like all of us living all our lives in Babylon, right? Our parents, our grandparents, and everybody, they've given us all these traditions of men. All we know is from what we know, and the only hope that we ever have is learning the Torah and learning our way forward. Okay, here we are, everybody, into the book of Marcos. Anybody want to give me a breakdown of where we are at?
So we have Yahushua, who has been going off teaching people, doing his great miracles, doing what we know him to do, and heal the people, and to teach the people, and to bring them back to Torah and to show them the way. And he is making a lot of people with somewhat power on this world hate him, and they're trying to find ways to get rid of him. They don't want him around because he's taking people away from their teaching, taking people away from their money, the way they were able to skin people, like washing the cups. He's broke their traditions of why don't wash the cup, why don't wash their hands, and he said that is not what any of these commands. The Torah is not in the Torah. That is what you guys have come up with. That is not from Yahuwah. And that made them angry, and so he's going around teaching people and healing people and continuing on doing what he does best.
Yeah. And yeah, so the Grand says Joshua was told to circumcise before entering the land. When did Joshua get circumcised? I can't remember this now. You guys remember this? We'll have to look this one up, the Grand. But I remember, if I can remember right, it's most of these guys were not circumcised, and so it was a big event that they did. So we'll have some better information on that. We'll get that next week. Who's taking that? Who's going to learn about this and bring us to us? Eli? All right, Eli's the man. Got fingers pointed to him. Okay, let us hit into this. And 1 second, guys, my dogs are about to go crazy like always. One thing it was about 3 or 4 years ago, we had somebody who is a Torah keeper, but was uncircumcised. They lived up in Canada, and it was nearly impossible for them to get circumcised in this particular day and age where they were trying to do whatever they were trying to do. And this topic came up about, do they keep Passover or not? And I think the consensus at the very end was that no, that if you were uncircumcised, you wouldn't keep Passover. So, let me see. Yeah, or Abraham, he was wasn't he 100 when he got circumcised? 90?
See.
I think he was 90 years old.
Yeah, I think he was circumcised after Isaac was born, wasn't he? No, it was Ishmael, because he got Ishmael. It was when 90, almost 90.
Yeah. Yes. So Sylvia's most of the times I have improvised during the feast of Yahuwah as I experience financial constraints, but Yahuwah is faithful in little that I have. Yeah, and a lot of people aren't able to actually get lambs and things like that. And there's a couple of years where we couldn't afford lambs either. We had no way to even figure out where to find them or anything of the sort down here. It's taken us a few years to figure this out. Do you have anything, Eli?
Yeah, so basically, for all the people, this is Joshua 5:5. For all the people who came out had been circumcised, but all the people who were born in the wilderness on the way as they came out of Mitzrayim had not been circumcised. So, like right before the end of the land, Yahuwah had Yehoshua make a bunch of flint knives, and they all got circumcised.
Yeah. So okay. So there we go, guys. Okay.
Did you answer Stella's question? Sorry.
Stella.
When did Abraham get circumcised?
Yeah. What was the age? I think it was
99.
It was 90. Yeah, 99 when Abraham got circumcised. So definitely not a good experience when you're that old. Okay, here we go. Mark 8. In those days, the crowd being very great and having not to eat, Yahushua called his Talmidim near and said to them. Okay, and Talmidim, for those who do not know, is another word for disciples. I have compassion on the crowd, for they have now been with me 3 days and have not to eat. And if I dismiss them unfed to their home, they shall faint on the way, for some of them have come from afar. And his Talmidim answered him, how shall anyone be able to feed these people with bread here in the desert? And he said to them, how many loaves do you have? And they said 7. And he commanded the crowd to sit down on the ground. And taking the 7 loaves, giving thanks, he broke them and gave them to his Talmidim to put before them. And they put them before the crowd. And they had a few small fish. And having Baruch blessed, he said to them also before them. And they ate and were satisfied. And they picked up 7 large baskets of broken pieces. And those eating were about 4,000, and he dismissed them. Okay, so we have several different occasions where our Messiah has been the buffet line, the miracle buffet line for all of these people. And it is one of these events that somehow, and I guess it's easy for us to say in hindsight, how is it the disciples can't figure this out? How is it they can sit and watch these miracles happen time and time again? And how is it that they just come up clueless on a lot of these things? Well, I'm sure it was a hardening of the heart. I'm sure that all eyes weren't open at the exact same time. But our Messiah just fed a boatload of people. And we've talked about it before, what it looks like. Messiah sitting down, you only had a couple pieces of bread, and you just start plucking the bread, start plucking the fish. And, the question was always like, does the fish reappear in his hand? How did that look? Did he rip a piece off and the head just came back, or something came back? There's always a lot of questions, but the understanding is that our Messiah is able to do very incredible things. And so this is simply one of them. And we've heard this enough. This particular story, we hear this all over in the Besorah, which is the good news, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. We also hear it a lot in the book of the Nazarene, which is the very last book in Yah Scriptures. And it's the book of Khalidi. And Messiah talks about this incident quite a bit. And there's a lot to this. Okay.
Still, it says, aren't we all like the taught ones?
Explain that. Anyone?
Are we all like the taught? Like,
are we all like taught ones? I mean, we all come from a land of ignorance, right? We all come from a place that we have to be taught, and we either are taught by others or we have the scriptures that teaches us. I don't know if I understand this, though. I don't know if maybe you can rephrase that particular question. I'm a little slow, but that's all right. I'm old. But hit me up with another one on that. 10. And immediately, entering into the boat with his talmidim, he came into the parts of Dalmanutha. And the Pharisees came out and began to dispute with him, seeking from him a sign from the Shamayim, from heaven, trying him. And sighing deeply in his spirit, he said, why does this generation seek a sign? Truly, I say to you, no sign shall be given to this generation. And leaving them, again entering into the boat, he went away to the other side. And so, you guys see a lot of this stuff. You know, I've talked about this a lot. But Messiah didn't have what I would call a good life. He would not be called somebody who had a life of ease. He was not somebody that was able to coast through life without any kind of problems. We know Messiah was go anywhere without a throng of people. And with that throng of people, he had all of these Pharisees and Sadducees. You had people just like the Christians of today, these religious zealots, that are just another sect of Judaism that were adding to and taking away from the word of our Creator, and then they were trying the Creator. And these guys are out there, hey, show us a sign. What you got, big guy? You know, show it what you really. We hear you talk, but I want to see a sign. And Messiah didn't do it. He would not oblige to these people. And so in the book of Khalidi, in the book of the Nazarene, Messiah talks a lot about the people he would heal and the people he wouldn't heal. And it talks a lot about the people that he didn't heal were people that he would have made their spiritual situation worse by seeing such a miracle. Like instead of them getting up from a crippled state and praising Elohim, they would have gone up from the crippled state and joined a gang and started robbing people's houses, right? That's what our Messiah did. He was qualifying a lot of people who he would heal. And this particular town, nobody, he wouldn't show these guys anything. And Messiah could have like thrown dust up in the air and shown them a mirage and shown stuff that these guys would never ever see. But he's unwilling to even give these guys anything. Continuing on, 14. And leaving them, again entering into the boat, he went away to the other side. And they had forgotten to take bread, and they did not have more than one loaf with them in the boat. And he was warning them, saying, mind, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the leaven of Herodes. And they were reasoning with one another, saying, because we have no bread. Okay, so for those, we've talked about a leavening process. A lot of guys out there, a lot of us, we don't actually know what leaven is. But when you get into a kitchen and you start watching the people that are making stuff, every time you make bread, unless you're making unleavened bread, there's some sort of leavening agent, right? You can have sourdough, you can have yeast, you can have whatever. I mean, it's something that basically it almost corrupts the dough to a point that I don't even know what the actual process of it is. But without the leavening agent, then you're left with, when you see unleavened bread, it's really, really hard. And like a leavening agent is going to make you a big, soft piece of bread or something that is, like a muffin of something of the sort. Right? Muffins use leavening agent, I think?
Yep.
All right. Are you even listening?
Baking
My cook lady's not even listening at the moment.
I'm talking to people in chat.
All right. You continue on with that chat. Okay. Continuing on. The poor disciples, they're back to the clueless state, wondering why Messiah was talking about the Pharisees and telling, watch out for the leaven. And the reason that Messiah is equating these people to leaven is you can take a bad piece of leaven. It can be some like rotten yeast, or it can be some rotten bread. There can be a lot of different things. And when you put it into that bread, it's over. It is game over. None of the bread is good. It will not taste good. The entire setup, even when cooked, it's going to taste funky. It's not right. And so a little itty bitty drop of the wrong thing can contaminate the entire thing. And you know what? That's what we see with all this religion. We see this with the Christian religions. You see these satanic religious leaders that stand up there getting 10% as they lead people astray. He will sit up there and tell you, Paul said, Paul said, Paul said, and that's what the preacher said, and everybody's going to go downstairs to the potluck and eat their pork, right? But when you see what the Creator says, what does the Word say? It's completely different than what these satanic men standing in these pulpits will say. So continuing on, Messiah says this. And Yahushua, being aware of it, said to them, why do you reason because you have no bread? Do you not yet perceive nor understand? Is your heart still hardened? Right? And this is the thing. You have these guys that have been with our Messiah that has made food out of nothing. People have stood up and come from the death, and they walk away. The sick are healed. The people all around them, they're seeing miracle after miracle. So at some level, you would think that they would just go, Messiah, can you hook us up with some bread? What do you think about that? Right? Take some water, throw it in the air, and make some bread wafers or something. Right? They just didn't get it that they were hanging with a celebrity who was the master runner of this entire thing. 18. Having eyes, do you not see? And having ears, do you not hear? And do you not remember? When I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many baskets filled with broken pieces did you pick up? They said to him, 12. And when I broke the 7 for the 4,000, how many large baskets filled with broken pieces did you pick up? And they said, 7. And he said to them, how do you not understand? That's a very good question. Messiah is not, he's not making a joke here. This is something that even us, that we can see today, and I guess we should be very, very thankful that we aren't one of the disciples back in the day that couldn't get this together. We have the ability in this world that we are in to see all the scriptures from the very beginning to the very end with all the Apocrypha and understand it, so we don't have to sit here and wonder, how are we going to get fed? How are we going to eat this piece of bread? So Messiah slapped him across the head nicely and says, how do you not understand? And he came to Beth Zaida, and they brought a blind man to him and begged him to touch him. And taking the blind man by the hand, he led him out of the village. And having spit on his eyes, laying hands on him, he asked him, do you see it at all? And he looked up and said, I see men like trees walking. Then he placed his hands on his eyes again and made him look up. And he was restored and saw all clearly. This is an amazing story, and the book of the Nazarene talks about this, and we have several different stories where our Messiah is the great healer, is the great medical advisor and the great medicine man himself. And he has all the medicines himself. And from another account, and I don't know if the other account is this exact same story, but in the book of the Nazarene, it talks about a man who has his eyes cleared up, and the very first time Messiah says, what do you see? The guy's like, I see now, but things are really blurry. I think that's a tree or something of the sort. And Messiah went back and he fixed it up again, and he made him healed. And it's amazing to hear the stories of our Messiah and the way he is, and his love that he had for humanity and for the sick and for all these guys. 26. And he sent him away to his home, saying, do not go into the village. And Yahushua and his talmidim went out to the villages of Caesarea Philippos. And on the way he asked his talmidim, saying to them, who do men say I am? And they said to him, Yochanan, the immerser, and others, Eliyahu, but others, one of the Neviim. And he asked them, and you, who do you say I am? And Kepha, Peter, answering said to him, you are Hamashiach. And he warned them that they should speak to no one about him. An interesting conversation, an interesting discussion, right? Messiah is asking them, who do people say I am? And, these guys are all about the people. These guys go all out among the people. They have all these stories. People definitely tell them stories. And Messiah's like, who do they say I am? Peter's the only one that figured this out, right? Peter said, you are Hamashiach. You are our Messiah. 31. And he began to teach them that the son of Adam, the bin of Adam, has to suffer much, and be rejected by the elders and chief Kohanim and scribes, and be killed, and after 3 days to rise again. And he was speaking about this openly. Then Kepha, taking him aside, began to rebuke him. And turning around and seeing his talmidim, he rebuked Kepha, saying, get behind me, Satan, for your thoughts are not those of Elohim, but those of men. Now, If I was Kepha at this point, I would be shell shocked. I would be busted up. I wouldn't be doing good. It's one of these things, get behind me, Satan. Coming from the mouth of our Messiah, those are hard words to hear, right? Those are things we don't want to hear. But are they the same things that would happen to us, right? How did Peter how did he say this? Why is this said? Well, it's because Peter was trying to protect our Messiah. He was saying, Messiah, you're not going to be taken. You're not going to get killed. We're going to stand up for you. And at this point in the world, our Messiah was still having to deal with this. We know all the way to where he ended up on the stake that he didn't want to go through with this. This was not his idea. This was not his personal objective. It was his dad's objective, and he was willing to do it. But even in the Garden of Gethsemane, we know that he did not want to do this. We know all the way till he died on the stake that he did not want to be a part of it. And who would? Who wants to be tortured? Who wants to be handed over? Who wants to be literally tortured to death? Not a good thing. 33. And turning around and seeing his talmidim, it's 34. And calling near the crowd with his talmidim, he said to them, whoever desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his stake and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life shall lose it. But whoever loses his life for the sake of me and the good news, he shall save it. Now, this is one of these things that a lot of people will, especially in the Christian religion, right? They're like, well, we're going to give up everything. We're going to go be a missionary in, Ryuba or somewhere. And the thing is about all of this is when you want to take up Messiah's stake and follow him, if you want to follow him, you need to understand that our Messiah was following the laws of his dad. To follow him, you would follow his dad. You would follow the ways of his dad. So all of these people that are going out in these missionary trips, that are selling people to Jesus, that are selling people the once saved, always saved, that are selling people all this stuff, right? It's all satanic. And it is completely satanic because you have millions and millions and millions of dollars of missionaries going out every single year, every single day from all of these so-called Christian churches in the United States, and they think they're out there saving all these souls. But indeed, what they are doing is they are actually damning men to a way forward that is not biblical. So they teach these people about the Jesus. They teach the people what they need to do, how they need to live, and what it is. But it's contrary to what the scriptures say. So they go into an area, teach the people, raise up other people just like them, and then they leave, and all of a sudden we've made an area worse off than what it was. And so if you want to follow our Messiah, it's about following the Torah. You're never going to follow the Messiah until you have the Torah. And so for those who are looking for the fake Jesus, his name is Yahushua. There were no J's in Hebrew. And he says, if you love me, keep my commands. And his commands, by his own words, are not his commands. They are the commands of his Father. His desires are the desires of his Father. We are doing nothing brand new when it comes to Messiah. We're doing the same thing we've always done, which is to love our Elohim with all our heart, mind, and soul, and to do what he asks us to do. Now, continuing on, 35 says this. For whoever desires to save his life shall lose it, but whoever loses his life for the sake of me and the good news, he shall save it. For what shall it profit a man if he gains all the world and loses his own life? Very big stuff, right? We don't hear this one time. We hear this probably 8 or 9 times inside of scriptures, inside of the Apocrypha, where it very, very clearly says that our credit score for the kingdom to come is based upon the life we are living right now. If we are a Torah-less, lawless group of individuals that have our own way forward, there's no good news. You're not going to be saving anything. You're not saving your soul. You're not guarding your soul. You're not protecting your soul. Protecting your soul means getting into covenant with our Creator. Protecting our soul means going back to the ways that we know that we're not making our Creator angry. If we are living like the world, tasting like the world, smelling like the world, then our Creator is not going to be happy with us because we are told to get away from this world. We're told to strike up a new stake with our Creator. Now, continuing on, 37 says this, or what shall a man give in exchange for his life? And we're almost done with this, but I want to end this with a brother. His name is Annabelle, and he's on death row. And I just posted this in our main community chat here on YouTube. And I've been talking to Annabelle for a very, very long time, and there's a lot of these guys in death row, and I'm always fighting against the faith-based system, even in death row. They literally have these guys very close to hooking them up with an IV and pumping poison into their system and killing them, but yet they will have them saving their souls with these fake Christians that keep coming in there, and everybody has the way forward, right? Everybody's selling the Jesus. Everybody's selling this is once saved, always saved. You can never be snatched out of the hand of your Creator, when very clearly it says that. And so I asked Annabelle, I think it was a couple weeks ago, I said, hey, because he's been on death row for like 25 years. This guy has lived, grown up on death row. And I said, Annabelle, would you trade your forever for your freedom right now? Would you save your soul? Would you lose your soul at the expense of freedom right now? Or would you rather continue on living in death row where they hook up IVs into you at some point and just kill you off and go stick you in the ground? And you guys, he said something very, very profound. And I think all of you guys, if you guys can read it, I think reading his whole thing will be very, very good for you guys. But he explained, he was willing, and the greatest day he ever had was the day he made it to death row, because all of a sudden he understood what it's like to really live. And sometimes you have to have a death sentence. Sometimes the Creator of the universe has to yank you away from the world that you are in and put you into a system to find a way to protect your soul. And I ask a lot of my brothers on death row this. I'm like, hey, what would you trade right now? Would you trade your freedom for eternity right now? And some of them will do it. But Annabelle, he said he would not. So continuing on, I thought it went along with this, what shall a man give in exchange for his life? 38, for whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinning generation, of him the Ben of Adam also shall be ashamed when he comes in the esteem of his Father with the Kodesh messengers. Huge thing, right? One thing right out of the gate, this is a Trinity breaking verse, right? The Son is going to be with his Father. And what's crazy is I was reading this other piece of some Apocrypha that's out there. And it said Jesus and his dad, the same individuals. And then it says, like right under it, that Jesus will be sitting at the right hand of his dad. And so right out of the gate, you're like, okay, these guys are the same individuals, but yet somehow he's sitting on the right hand of, how does this happen? Why do we have two different thrones if it's the same individual? Why would we have somebody that's not him, that is him, that isn't him technically sitting somewhere? It doesn't make any sense, right? The Messiah is the Son of the Most High. And this verse in 38 is something that all of us need to really, really understand, because we need to stand for our Creator and for his Son. Through these laughing hyenas and these laughing jackals that will laugh at you and like, the laws are dead, you moron. We're like, well, they're really not. And they're, you can say what you want to say, you can do what you want to do. But at the end of the day, from this very verse right here, we have an advocate. We have the Son of the Most High, who's either going to be ashamed of us when we come into the kingdom or not. And so if we want an advocate who's not ashamed of us, somebody who is very proud of us, then we need to be in covenant with our Creator. We need to be ones who love our Creator with all our heart, mind, and soul. We need to have the Torah written on our heart, mind, and soul. It needs to be a part of everything that we do if we want this advocate. Because if not, Messiah is going to say, depart from me, you who are lawless. You who have laughed and scoffed at the ways of my Father and have built your own religious system, go to hell. And that's what Messiah is going to say, and it's going to hurt a lot of people, because in Matthew 7, all these people seem to know our Messiah. They thought they knew his name, they thought they knew his desires, but then he looks at them and they're shocked. And that is eternity, guys. There's no way back. We have 120 years to make this right now and figure this stuff out. And is it that hard to get on our knees to a power that is beyond ours, to the Creator who built you and me, who designed us in such a way, in such a fashion that he's called us home and called us forward? This is the best way forward, guys. It'll be the best way for now, for forever and ever and ever. So, guys, with that, I think we're good. Jade, will you please wrap us up? Bless our brothers and sisters.
Yahuwah barak you and guard you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and show favor to you. Yahuwah lift his face upon you and give you peace.
Yeah, and the Grand's talking about, there's a group supplying bare necessities to keep Pesach to those behind the bars. They send matzo, grape juice, and horse ration. Yeah, they do, and I'm thankful that there is a group like that. But these guys are also called the Sabbath keepers, and they are straight up Judaism, and they are just like the Christians, teaching our brothers a whole nother set of rules and regulations, a whole bunch of other stuff, right? They bring in all the Judaism all inside of this, and it just causes so much confusion. So that's tough. So, all right, guys. Well, with that, much love to y'all.
Let the mountains shake, let the earth be moved, let the nations may tremble at your presence. Let your fire burn, let the waters pour, let your name be known to this generation. And come down. That you would rend the heavens and come down. Oh, that you would rend the heavens and come down. Will you restrain yourself any longer? Don't hide your face in your anger. Jerusalem is praised by the nations, the place of your throne, a destination. Come down. Oh, that you would rend the heavens and come down. Oh, that you would rend the heavens and come down. There will be thunder in Jerusalem. Like a lion you will roar. Eager and greedy for the sake of Zion. And all the nations they will know when you come down. You come down. Oh, that you would rend the heavens and come down. Oh, that you would rend the heavens and come down. Oh, come Indeed, we have sinned, and we need saving. All our righteousness is rags. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, but you prepare for those who wait. When you come
All right, brothers and sisters, may Yahuwah bless you and keep you. May his light forever shine on you. May the Torah be a part of your life. May Messiah Yahushua always be your leader and savior. And may you guys have a wonderful week. Shabbat shalom.